stitch and flip and rip. The stitch and flip and rip. I know what you're thinking. This boy gonna lost his mind. Let's just get through this video. Okay. Well, I don't have my usual elixir again because I ran out. Now, I don't know what it is about the holiday season, but suddenly every store that I went to didn't have cranberry juice, so I gotta go with the cousin again, orange juice. Yeah, this'll do. It's funny, right around the holiday season, it's like everybody else jumps on the bandwagon and buys up all the cranberry juice. Go figure that one. Or maybe they finally caught on to the trend. Ooh, I'm a trendsetter. Or no. I'm an influencer. Nah, that doesn't suit me very well. You know, I'd be kind of curious to know, around the holidays, because everybody's drinking cranberry juice, is there an increase in the number of kidney stones that get passed? Ew, why did I even think of that? Ugh. Let's get sewing. So to make this week's quilt, you will need 4 2.5-inch squares, and I'm using this white. And you will need a total of 8 2.5 by 4.5-inch rectangles. Now you can do all of the same color print, or you can scrap it up and do different color prints. The choice is yours. For my block, I'm just using this light blue and this dark blue. So here we have our 4 2.5 by 4.5-inch rectangles, and you can kind of see that I have 2 different prints, so 8 altogether. And these are the 2.5-inch squares of a contrasting fabric or a background fabric. In this case, I'm just using the white. Now, I went ahead and pressed a diagonal seam or a diagonal line, and we're going to be stitching right on that pressed line, and we're going to do a stitch and flip where I'm going to place this towards the upper right corner on 2 of this darker blue, and I'm going to do 2 of this lighter turquoise color with the same thing. Now, what you want to pay attention to here is that you do it in the same direction. So notice I got it all going to the upper right corner. Okay, now you can do it to the upper left corner. That choice is yours. If this is easier, in fact, I might just do this. What you don't want to do is just have one going this way and the others going that way. That's not going to work. They have to be kind of consistent throughout. So you want to make sure that if you sew one going toward the upper left corner, then all the rest have to go in the same direction. If you sew it in a different direction, you're going to get a different looking block. So let's take these to the sewing machine and let's get these stitched down. Again, we're sewing right on that diagonal line. Now you can draw the diagonal line, or you can kind of eyeball it if you have one of these diagonal seam tape, or if you have like a seam guide like this where it does have this middle line. You don't necessarily have to iron it. Again, you can draw it down. And we'll snip that off. Go with the next one. Okay, and I do want to check to see that when I flip this white square back, this corner, is it going to meet all the way? Yes, it is. So that one's good. Let's get these sewn. And this corner is a little bit off there, so oh, made that corner off. Okay, now we got it. Let's sew. Okay, does the corner go all the way? Which it does. Looking good. And stitch and flip this one back. Let's see, does it go all the way to the corner? Yep. Wow. Maybe I should change elixirs, because this one seems to be working a lot well. Yeah, don't tell Cranberry though. They'll get jealous. Does that work? Oh, that's marvelous. Okay, I love it when the block comes together like this. We're gonna trim off the excess from here. So let me grab the ruler. I'm gonna trim 1/4 inch. Okay. This, again, I'm gonna put this on the side. This is going in my crumb bin, in which, if you saw last week's video, or week, I believe number 18, I have a whole bin of crumbs of just odd shaped pieces like this. And I can finger press this one back, and we'll do the rest. And all I'm doing is lining up the 1/4 inch line right on the seam and cutting the excess off there. I do have a problematic block here, in which notice that I didn't line up the block 100% correct. What I could do then is just kind of make sure that this is 4 inches there. Just trim that little bit there. Now I'm not going to worry so much about the point here, because this is just going to get caught in the seam allowance anyway. So as you can see here, I'm taking that second 2.5 inch by 4.5 inch rectangle and stitching it down to the rectangle where we did the stitch and flip or snowball the upper left corner. Yeah, there's just one problem. Yeah, I'm actually sewing it onto the wrong side. You see, when we do the stitch and flip, or when we snowball the upper left corner, I'm actually supposed to sew on that second rectangle to the left side, but instead I'm actually sewing it down the right side, and I didn't realize that. And what's worse is this is the second time I've made that same mistake. Wait, did I just do it wrong again? Yep, I just did it wrong again. It's supposed to go on the left side. Why do I keep doing this? Okay. Jack! That's twice. And I totally had sewn the seam on wrong. So, we're ripping. Okay, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna have to rip this seam because I did it again. I didn't show you the mistake the first time, but I made the second mistake yet again. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna leave this seam here. We're gonna actually sew this side on, or we're gonna sew it onto the correct side that it's supposed to be on. Then we'll rip the seam. Flip that back. Stitch this down. My gosh. And I thought this was going to be an easy block. No. You're fired. But you still taste good. Blame it on the elixir. Yeah, yeah. You stitch, you flip, you rip. Hey, you stitch, you flip, you rip. And has a nice ring to it, actually. You stitch, you flip, you rip. And that is exactly what I had to do on this bland block. Maybe I'll rename this block to the Stitch Flip Rip. Yep, you'll probably see the title of this video. I'll call it Stitch Flip Rip. And you'll be like, what? We're gonna rip this one off. And I can cut this one so that I know it's supposed to be this one. Now, one thing about seam rippers, since this is pretty new, the blade's very sharp. You know what? I need to introduce you to the new kid on the block. So thanks to my friend at T-Quilts at tquilts.com, I ordered this purple. So I call her Jane the Ripper. And this is Steve. Jack, I don't know where he went. He's around here somewhere. There's Jack and Stiletto, or Jack and Stella, I should say. So this is Jane and Steve, the other couple. If you want to order actually a set of this, I'll put a link down to the T-Quilts website where you can actually place an order for these tools here. There's actually, maybe this will be a good time to actually show you how I rip the fabrics. When I first started quilting, I didn't know how to actually use a seam ripper properly. So what I was doing, anytime I actually needed to rip a seam, I would be here picking every single stitch, just like how I'm doing right now. And I used to do it often because I would make these types of errors pretty frequently. And I still make these types of errors pretty frequently, so I guess I didn't learn much. Okay. And I would sit here for hours just picking every single stitch. Then I actually learned how to use the seam ripper and use it more efficiently. Instead of picking at every single stitch, there's one method where I'll do like maybe every 5 or 6 stitches. Then I'll go to the other side. I can pick out one stitch and it kind of loosens the thread. Then I can just kind of pull on it. Let's see, there we go. Pull it out, and there we just ripped our stitch. And I just ripped the wrong side. God damn it. Yeah, you are seriously fired. But you still taste good. I was actually supposed to rip this side. How did I miss that? Oh, well. Okay, let's rip this one. Now, you can pick maybe every 5 or 6 stitches. You don't have to pick out every single one. It's a little faster to do it this way. Those are the correct ones. This needs to go here. So I gotta sew on the side here. Honestly, a lot of people think that I stage these mistakes. I actually don't. This is really how I do sew. Hold on, before I make another mistake. That's correct, right? Yeah, that is correct, okay. Quite honestly, when I make mistakes like this, I kind of make a conscious decision of actually leaving it in the video because number one, I know everybody gets a kick out of me making a mistake, but number two, I mean, mistakes happen. You know, you got all these professional quilters that are on YouTube, and they're the ones that are actually editing out all of these errors that they make. And it kind of gives, I mean, I understand that for new quilters, you know, they make mistakes like this all the time. And so it's okay to make a mistake. And sometimes these mistakes kind of give me an opportunity to teach you how to correct it or how to avoid it, maybe. I can show you how to use a seam ripper. Oh, Jane. Where the hell is Jack anyway? Oh, he's at the other station over there. Okay, so here is another method as to how to use a seam ripper. Now, this method, sometimes if I'm in a rush, I will do this. But the scary thing about it is sometimes I can also rip the fabric while doing this. So what I'm doing here is I'm just going to pick out the first few stitches just so that I can actually get the seam a little bit loose here at the beginning. Now, the ball here actually has a function in which you can kind of slide the ball right under the seam in between the two fabrics. So if I slide it right in there, and what you can do is then just kind of gently pull the two fabrics and just kind of slide it down right like this. Just don't force it, and you do have to have a really sharp seam ripper. But as you just saw, I just ripped it and it creates all these fuzzies, but you don't have to sit there and pick the stitches. So that's the other way in which I will rip a seam. But again, the danger to doing that though is sometimes the stitch is so tightly done that you can actually pick on the fabric and rip the fabric as you're sliding the seam ripper through. So now everybody has their own favorite methods of how to rip a seam real quickly. So here's a question for all of you out there. How do you use your seam ripper? Do you pick the stitches out? Do you slide it through? Put a comment down below and kind of give me an explanation as to how you rip your seams apart when you need to rip them apart. Hopefully you never do, but we all know that's not true. So these are the units that are supposed to be sewn. Let's pretend that I sewed it correctly the first time around. So from these units, we're gonna place it so that our stitched and flipped 2.5 inch squares, we're gonna make a pinwheel in the center. Do it there. And this one can go there. And this one can go there. Oops. Let's lay that out a little better. There we go. And there's our block. Okay, so before we get this particular block sewn, I don't want to waste the other pieces. So let's kind of see what we can play around with, or let's play around with those incorrect pieces and let's see what block we can create. So these were blocks that were actually sewn incorrectly, and instead of ripping these apart, I just left it like this. So the mistake was that I sewed it on the left, or sewed the extra rectangle on the right side when I was supposed to be sewing the seam here. But I figure let's play around with this and let's see what we can create. So we can do that. That looks kind of interesting. What if I turn it this way? Could do that. Okay, what if I turn all of them out toward the corner? This kind of looks interesting. Okay, what if I do this? I could also do this. Put the blue bars in the center. That looks a little weird. Maybe I'll do that. Okay. This could be interesting. Okay. Let's see. I could also do this. And yeah, like that. Ooh, this will look interesting if I just did a whole quilt like this. This will probably end up being like a chain or something. Okay, let's see what happens when I do flip these around. Okay, so it'll be the same thing, just that the whole block got turned around. Happy mistake. So now I have some other blocks to think about in the future. Maybe you might see one of these designs. Who knows? Okay, so, but let's get our correct pieces back laid out and the way we want them to. Okay. Now, so that's it. Let's get this block sewn together. Okay, I should mention, because we're doing a pinwheel with these half square triangles here in the middle, you do want to make sure that you do nest these two seams here together so that your pinwheel will come out a lot better. Okay, there's no seam, like the seam, there's no seam to nest here. You just want to be aware that when you put these two units together, you do want to make sure that you're nesting the seam so that that pinwheel in the center can come out much better. Okay. Let's see how this turned out. Let me look first. Yeah, okay, it's okay. I'll show it to you. Okay, so the point here didn't quite match up, but that's good enough for me. Ooh, this one's nice. This one's nice. Yeah, look at that. Okay, that's beautiful. 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 I'm just finger pressing the seam allowances on these units toward the left. This one, yeah, I did it toward the left. So now when we put these two units together, it'll nest beautifully in the center. Since I want the point to remain there, or I don't want to lose those points, I'm gonna put a pin in it. Because you know, if you like it, you should have put a pin in it. If you like it, then you should have put a pin in it. If you like it, then you should have put a pin in it. Don't be mad that you see that your point's not there. If you like it, then you should have put a pin in it. So 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 so. And here is the stitch and flip and rip block. Come on, you gotta see this with me. You gotta do the head motion too. Come on. Stitch and flip and rip block. Yeah, that's how you do it. Okay. So the block ends up being about 8.5 inches, give or take your 1/4 inch seam allowance. And well, you got options as to how you want to lay it out. Now I'm just choosing to do, I chose to do it in this layout, but you don't necessarily have to follow my layout. And as you saw in the video, there's different options that you can do. Well, I call it a happy mistake. Well, that's it for this video. But before we let you go, make sure that you are joined in on the Facebook discussion group, because this week I'll be making a major announcement and giveaway. Well, that's it for now. Until next time, go out and create something. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications on when I upload the next video. Put a comment down below saying what you liked or maybe even what you didn't like. And join the Facebook discussion group at Treasure Heart Creations. You can post pictures of the blocks that you created, or just scroll through and gather inspiration from other Treasure Heart Creation Group members. And from time to time, there are giveaways exclusively for Treasure Heart Creation Group members. So use the link in the description box below to sign up. If you're on Instagram, post pictures of the blocks that you're working on using the hashtag THC5252. Well, that's it for now. Now go out and create something.